Hello, my gorgeous ones. Welcome back to Alicia Budget Beauty. My name is Alicia. I love affordable fashion and beauty here on my channel. I do hauls, tutorials, reviews, all sorts of fun stuff. So if that sounds good to you, please subscribe and be a part of the fam. So today is something I've been wanting to do for a really long time, and that is to show you guys some alternatives, not necessarily dupes, to the Patrick Ta Major Dimension and Major Dimension 2 palette. Now these were two very, very hyped up palettes in the beauty community, and just, I think even outside of like a niche beauty community, just a popular release, both of these palettes. And I was on their PR list. I have since kind of removed myself for my own reasons. One was I had a blush that went rancid and they never really responded to me about that. And I don't really love how they do their PR program also. So I'm no longer doing PR from them. And I figured that I'm giving both of these palettes away to one of my dear friends, Marty, who loves makeup as much as I do. I adore her. So I'm giving her these for free. But first, I told her before I send these off, I really want to show that there are some really affordable alternative palettes that, like I said, aren't necessarily dupes, but I feel like get generally the same look for much, much less. And as a matter of fact, so I am actually wearing both 1 and 2 on one of my eyes. And then I'm wearing an extremely affordable drugstore brand on the other eye. I bet you guys don't even know which one. So if you want to see what I'm wearing on the other eye, which one is which, and some of my affordable alternatives that are beautiful neutral palettes for less, keep on watching. Okay, you guys, so first of all, I've gotten a little bit closer. And I'm just wondering if you guys know which one is Patrick Ta Major Dimension and which one is this palette right here. Yes, it is an LA Girls palette. This is the Keep It Playful eye palette, which is a fraction of the price of the Major Dimensions. Now, let me just show you, in case you haven't seen them, what they look like. So this is number 1. Also, packaging is beautiful when you first get it, this rose gold, but it shows fingerprints so terribly. So here's number 1, and this is a very neutral palette, meaning like in tone as well. It is as close to neutral without being warm or cool toned as you can get. You have 2 cream shadows down here, which I personally do not love. And then you have shimmers and mattes. And then this is number 2, which is more pinky rosy in tone. So that's what that looks like. And then once again, let me show you guys this one. So I did combine, and like I said, this is not a dupe, so it's not like I'm saying you run out and get this and you have everything out of one of these palettes, but I used some from this palette, some from number 1, and then I only use this palette on one of the eyes, and they are slightly different. And if I close my eyes a little bit like this, you might be able to tell more, because the right side is actually the LA Girl Keep It Playful, and you see a little bit more of that warm tone to it. And then the left side is the Major Dimension 1 and 2. But overall, there's not a huge difference. The formula, I will say, the shimmers in these are, and let me say, I don't hate the Major Dimension palettes. I think that they're beautiful. I have some friends who have had hard pan very, very quickly in their shimmers, which really upset them, because this is not a cheap palette. This is a cheap palette. This is not a cheap palette. Like, we're talking, you're gonna pay over 60 bucks for this if you don't get it on sale. You shouldn't get hard pan right away. So the shimmers are more finely milled and they are very light and sparkly, okay? And then the shimmers in this are more of those satin metallics that do have a very high shine, but they aren't those little individual little sparkles. But overall, I think if you stood from far away, you wouldn't know. If I didn't tell you that one was high end, one was low end, I guarantee you would not know. Now, mattes, I actually had about the same blendability in both, These blend beautifully. I do love the mattes in the Patrick Ta, but these blend beautifully as well. I mean, there shouldn't be such a huge price difference. You're really just paying for the name and the packaging that gets your fingers all grubby. Now let me show you a couple of more neutral palettes that I do recommend that are just alternatives. These are alternative neutral palettes that are cheaper than the Patrick Ta, but they're not dupes. So we have the Lunar Beauty Nude Prism palette. This is one of my favorite neutral palettes. Again, not a dupe, but you do have some very similar shades in here. You do have some of your more like pinky rosy tones that you find in Major Dimension 2. Then you have your true neutrals here as well. The shimmers in here are definitely different. They don't have that little sparkles. These are more wet and foiled, but beautiful on the eye. And these mattes take some building up, but they're also very easy to work with. You're not gonna mess up and you're not gonna have patchiness either. And it is a beautiful palette. And I think I always say this would be a perfect wedding day palette. Or if you're a makeup artist and you're looking for a new one to add into your canon, I highly recommend this. Or if you're just an individual that wants to do your own makeup, this is a perfect wedding palette. Then we have another one by LA Girl. Now this is different in tone and color. You definitely have more smokiness in here. So this is also Keep It Playful. Oh, but this is Downplay. This one is Playmate. Playmate, Downplay. They actually go beautifully together. But in here, you still have your neutral tones, and then you also have your smoky tones, so you could really deepen this up with the black. You have this beautiful foiled silver in here. And I was gonna tell you guys, there is a little bit of a duochrome in this one. It's this shade right here. It has like a pinky bluish shift to it. So pretty in this like $10 palette. But yeah, I just think that if you are looking for a neutral palette, but you want some smokiness, this one is a great option. Then we have a Moira palette. Now, I pointed out that this one reminded me a lot of the new Makeup by Mario palette that everyone went bonkers over, and it sold out everywhere. And I showed this on my TikTok as an alternative to that one. Again, it was not a dupe, it was just an alternative because you have smoky tones in here as well, cool tones, then you also have neutrals, and this is just, honestly, this is a perfect neutral palette to me because I do love smoky, but I also like your brown tones as well, and Moira performs so beautifully. The mattes are pigmented, they blend beautifully, the shimmers are gorgeous. Like this palette, I believe is only 15, 16, somewhere around there. And I mean, the packaging also is gorgeous, and you don't have to worry about the grubby fingerprints of the Patrick Ta. Then we have another Moira palette. This is the Essential Nudes palette. These are what made me fall in love with their shadows. I bought the whole set. It came with 4. So this is the one that's the closest to a true neutral. The other ones in the set, they have one that has like a pop of teal and pink, much more like berry in tone. But this one is definitely your more neutral. Yeah, Essential Nudes and Pressed Pigments palette is what it says. But these are stunning. These perform like a high-end palette. I am telling you, their mattes are gorgeous. Their shimmers are beautiful. You have this marbled one in here that has like the pink and gold. So pretty. Highly recommend their palettes, and they're extremely affordable. Then we have, this is kind of off the beaten path. We have a Buxom palette. You don't really hear that much about Buxom eyeshadows, mainly the lip products. Sometimes you hear about their blushes. This is the Boss Babe Betty palette. And I wanted to use this one today because I feel like this is kind of the closest to a dupe, but I wanted to show you the cheaper of all the options. This one, I created a look, and I will pop in a picture right here. I created that last year whenever I was trying to look for dupes or alternatives to these palettes. And I was like, why does no one talk about this palette? Stunning, so easy to use. I loved the look from it. I think this packaging is really pretty. Yes, it's cardboard, but it's got that like reflective quality. It has a mirror in it. You know, it's got this bright, shiny gold inside. So this one is cheaper. It's not as cheap as your drugstore, but it's definitely not as expensive as the Patrick Ta palette. Now, another one I have in my collection that I love, and this is a little bit of a stretch. It's still a neutral palette by all means, but it's definitely more warm tone, and it's the Rebellious Nudes by Colored Raine. Colored Raine is one of my picks as the most underrated eyeshadow brands. I just think that they are phenomenal in quality. They perform so well. I love her color stories, and just not very many people talk about them. I feel like they did for a while, and then they stopped. But these mattes are buttery, rich, pigmented. You have the more warm tones in here, like kind of like a mustardy yellow, and then you've got more of like terracottas here, and then browns to the black, and then you have these gorgeous shimmers in here. And this one, let me show you, it is more of a duochrome, and it's like a green gold that is just stunning. You guys, if you're looking for a warm tone neutral palette that has a little bit more yellow leaning shades in it, I cannot recommend this one enough. The very last one I'm going to show you is the Gold Crush by Makeup Revolution. Now, this is definitely the cheapest out of all of the palettes, and I wouldn't say that the mattes are as good in this. Makeup Revolution can be very hit or miss. Some of them I'm like, how is this cheap? Because I was not prepared for this, and it's usually in their shimmers. And then sometimes you're like, yeah, okay, I can see why that's so cheap. But these shimmers are really beautiful. You've got this gold one here. That's really pretty. You've got this melt shade is so pretty. I'm gonna put it on my hand on this. So that's that like pinky foiled. Look how beautiful that is. Like, does that look like that would be in an, I think this one's probably under $10. I mean, you can kind of tell how foiled and shiny these shimmers are. And it's got kind of a weird like dome shape that I don't know that I love, but heck, it's super cheap and really beautiful. So I just wanted to show you guys that I know a lot of people get caught up in the name and then they feel FOMO. You know, with Patrick Ta, it is not cheap. I know people were like, oh, I really want that palette, but it's so expensive. Some people did go ahead and just stretch the dollar, went out and got it. And some people love it. It is some people's top palettes, and it is not a bad palette. Neither one of them are. But it's mainly in the name and the packaging and the hype. I'm just here to show you as an example that you can get just as beautiful of looks in much cheaper palettes. And I do think that this eye look kind of proves that point. So you guys let me know what you thought about this. Do you want more examples of alternatives, even if they aren't dupes, to coveted palettes, hyped up palettes, overpriced palettes? You guys let me know down below. Let me know if you loved any of these palettes and you might pick them up. And as always, have fun shopping, budget shopping. Bye.